All right, so let's get on to some people.
Mm-hmm.
People talking about people. So, the greatest collaborators that you ever had, and then the most honest dogmen that you ever had the privilege of having in the program. So you can choose whichever one you want
I'll
of
go with a
those.
collaborator. You know, I've had several people that I've collaborated with, and several that I have benefited greatly from the collaboration. I wouldn't be where I'm at now were it not for generosity and um, just uh, wisdom from several people. Overall, I would have to say that Vinny Romeo is, you know, the the things that we have shared in this journey. The fact that he trusted me with Chinaman, um, all the flow back and forth of dogs between me and him and me for the 40 years that we've known each other. Uh, he's we kind of come at it from different angles. Vinny's an artist. He really he's like the good Italians who created all this fantastic art and architecture, and uh, he just got it in him to have a path to the truth, and he just gets it. Um, I'm I have some of that, and I have a lot of inclination towards the scientific end of things and logical end of things, and so it's been a great relationship. The collaboration with him has been immensely profitable for me in terms of finding success in breeding dogs, and I like to think it's had great utility for him as well. So it's fair to call it a collaboration, and uh, love my man Vinny. He's as good a friend as a man could ever have. He anytime you have a 40-year relationship with somebody and that you can't even think of any way they've ever even unintentionally wronged you, he's always exceeded everything that he ever indicated he'd do, and he's gone well beyond anything he's ever promised. So great human being, and he's a true access, a true. Um, he is truly a credit to everything about the pit bull world. Uh, he gets it on all levels. He has fantastic relationships with dogs. Has a fantastic understanding of what goes on in the mind of a dog, and very fair in his treatment of people. So, very grateful for that friendship. At the same time, I have benefited immensely from my affiliation with TVK.
Before we go on to TVK, and we'll get back to it, what do you think are the strengths of his program and the strengths of your program? Because I've seen them combine. So, how would you describe the strengths of his program and the strengths of your program?
Well, you know, he lives in a world um, that is more forgiving than the world that I live in. Um, and I don't know to what extent I can truly answer this question, but
Okay.
um, I live a very legal existence, not implying that anybody else doesn't, but you know, everything I do is I assume that it's scrutinized, and I'm happy that it is scrutinized, and I do meet all the standards, and the animals in my possession live good lives, and they get treated with the love that we feel for them. If sometimes in other environments it's easier to evaluate a dog and determine exactly what their strengths and weaknesses are, and um, if you had a combination of the two together, the utility of being able to combine both of those into one outcome certainly has value.
Well, we'll summarize it all up by Tom and Vinny meeting is 40 years of art and science
Yeah.
coming together, and then we could go on to TVK.
We both Vinny and I love the breed, and most everything that we've worked to do together has only been for the betterment of the breed. With respect to TVK, if I didn't get the Wicked dog from Russ, the El Negro line wouldn't be here. Just that fact alone makes him a hugely valuable collaborator. I traded the Hap dog. It was a very high caliber Red Boy Medlin's Outlaw dog, well, Red Boy dog, to Russ for Wicked. And then Russ did a breeding of a female named Big Mama that he got from Floyd, and he bred her and he bred her one of Floyd's studs, Floyd's Eli studs, and gave me a female that turned out to be El Negro's mother, Nikki. And so, yeah, he had a huge impact on the flow of genes into my kennel that really made a positive difference. So, and the Ripper female that was the product of me breeding Frisco into Bolero. That produced Ripper, who was the mother of Wicked. So it was a lot of things that came together, and
that's a crazy turn of events. If you just think of these things need to happen for this to happen.
Yeah.
It's not just one person doing something or another person doing something. There's some chance and luck in there.
Yeah. And what made it all work was his love of a good Red Boy dog. And I saw something that I needed in those Eli dogs, So we took it and ran with it, and it's been hugely productive. So, in terms of collaboration, Vinny for 40 years, and then key things with Russ that allowed certain dogs to come into existence that without which my world would be way different. I believe the next one was about most honest dog man.
Yeah, and before we end on collaborations, there's something that you say to people when they get dogs from here, that we're on the same team, and if you need anything, call me anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to testify that you pick up the phone no matter what. Even if me and you or me and somebody else is in the middle of a conversation, you just pick up the phone and answer every phone call. But I really think, as many times as I've heard you say that to people, it's become kind of routine, but I truly do believe that you believe that you're on the same team with all these people. If they get a dog from here, you're as invested in their success as they are in their own success.
And that concept extends even further. As time has gone on, I've been fortunate enough for enough of my dogs to have success that most of my peers, some would say competitors, I don't really consider them competitors. They do the same thing I do, and they do it with good success. To me, they're my teammates. So we have a number of other breeders out there that basically a lot of them are doing things that I would do myself if I had unlimited arm's reach and expanse in terms of if I could test every idea, if I could try every combination. There's a number of breeders out there that are expanding on my concepts and my blood, and they take up some of the business. They get some of the business, and they deserve it. And I don't resent it. I applaud them for being my teammates as opposed to my opposition or competition. So there's here we have two ways that the concept of we're all pursuing a common objective, a common outcome here, and that is betterment of the breed. And with respect to the relationship to customers, it's about bearing all the fruit that we can in that ultimate relationship between customer and dog. I want the dog to have a long and natural life. I want the customer to be fulfilled from the companionship from the dog. So it's amazing how much better opportunity we have to achieve our ultimate objectives through cooperation.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll walk around a mud hole just because I ain't got time to clean my shoes. There's a lot of people out there that invite conflict, and they're just trying to get competition. Not competition, they're trying to get attention. But it's not that I don't want the competition. It is that it will ultimately just be spending part of my day's allotment of mental energy in dealing with them, and I can better spend that mental energy in a more positive way.
And no point in unwanted attention.
Right.
So on to the most honest dog man or dog men, if you have a couple of them in mind.
Well, there's different ways that you can be honest. And I'm not trying to suggest by singling out these two guys that lots of other people don't meet the criteria for being declared honest. In fact, most of the dog men out there, I think, are essentially honest. But two that stand out as being extremely honest. They're very different, and they're very different in the ways that they are honest. On the one hand, you got a guy who's very much of a Christian, and I'm talking about Durant Cottingham, and he will honor everything in his commitment to being a Christian in his interaction with people. And that means that if there's anything, if you're asking him about an accurate appraisal of a dog, he will tell you everything that he absolutely knows about the dog. He won't deceive you in any way.
Good or bad.
Yeah. And at the same time, he tries to make sure that everything around him that he has his hands on is carried out in the most fair and just and forthright way. And the degree to which I've always seen him abide by those principles, over the course of a lifetime, you see the person as being a cut above. So I always give him credit for being that kind of honest. On the other hand, we have a different kind of honesty, and that is, again, going back to my friend Russ Heron, TVK. He won't deceive himself one hair about the nature of a dog. Okay, if he knows the nature of what he's feeding, and those dogs have to be honest, and there ain't no making excuses for anything on his yard. Which you have to admire that. The fact that he's holding his dogs to a high standard. And if he's got a dog and you ask him about it, If he thinks the dog's a cur, he'll tell you. He will tell you faster than his enemies will. But I think this is not up to our standard, you know. And his pursuit of honesty within his dogs is relentless. So,
do you think there's any negative to that kind of pursuit of honesty? Because some people will, or do you think there's an age limit on it, or sometimes that kind of structured honesty might get you in trouble if you're trying to think about something too early or too late, or like more simply, do you think there's any negatives to that kind of pursuit of honesty?
well, I think that it requires that a man is wise.
Okay.
You have to have enough wisdom to.
That's a tough initial requirement.
Yeah, it is. You have to be. You have to make allowances for what we don't know,
Yeah.
and there's a whole lot we don't know. And if you hold an animal to a standard, and you know, and that there's something developmentally going on with them that will be different 2 weeks from now than it is now, and if you misjudge that and you pass your judgment, now you may totally treat the animal unfairly, and you may lose worth that was there. It might be the greatest thing you ever had, and it just needed 2 more weeks to find itself. So you know, you got Russ, who on the one hand it's just his value system to not fool himself about the worth of anything. But then you have some people who might act in a similar manner because they don't really have a great understanding about what they're dealing with, and they try to hedge their bets by turning everything into black and white. Mm-hmm. They try to have the most rigid standards, but they're not accurate standards. So I think,
and most often not standards they hold themselves accountable.
Oh, I guarantee you. Where I would lie on that continuum is if I'm trying to determine if a dog is worthy of having their genes passed forward, I will be very lenient, but I won't do any breeding. I'll be lenient in terms of giving them time to mature into the kind of animal that we find to be acceptable. They won't get bred until I'm satisfied that they are, but you know, I won't do anything harsh to eliminate their ability to develop into what it is we're looking for. Yeah, I mean, you know, these are things can easily be done by just putting ourselves in the position of the animal that we're judging. We can reflect on our own life experiences and find times that we might have come up short, but then we evolved in some way or another, and we didn't come up short. We measured up, and you have to gain some sort of understanding of those processes of maturation that come into play. And I make a lot of room for all the things that I just don't know. And so if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of giving the dog the benefit of the doubt. But he's not going to get bred in the meanwhile. I'm not playing loose with the integrity of the breed or the integrity of gene pools. I'm just, I just don't make any harsh decisions.
All right, well, Honest Dog Men, we got Durant and TVK. We're getting on in time at this point. I do want to get to at least a couple of comment questions because we asked for them. We can't get to all of them. There were quite a few good questions on adding Hollingsworth stuff into the program, how to use RF1, DNA testing on inbred dogs, how many breedings were there Lady Princess, some Fat Bill stuff, which may get covered later on, Gaston Williams, thoughts on Jeep and blood and Jeep specifically, some frozen semen stuff. But these were all like different comments here and there. But I found one comment that had like quite a few questions in the exact comment, which when we're talking about this, we had a lot of these aren't good questions, but not here's the question I'd like you to ask. So in the future in the comments, just instead of saying these aren't good questions, if you don't like it or if it's not the thing in your head that you wanted answered, just put the question you want asked and we'll do our best to get to it.
I meant to make a comment a while ago when you were starting the interview for the people who have indicated that the questions that were presented in the first session, which resulted in 2 videos, basically we proved that just because the questions aren't that great doesn't mean the answers aren't.
Oh, yeah.
You can use a kind of an ignorant question as a springboard for elaborating into a wealth of truth, a wealth of information, and for the people who criticize the softball questions, I think they should go back and listen to the wealth of information that was shared as a consequence of the stimulus that those simple, sometimes humorous questions elicited.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So one person that did present a few, something I didn't even understand, so I wanted to get your, most of the time from questions and comments, there's not much that I don't understand after reading so many of them and spending so much time doing this. But someone had mentioned breedings with Abernathy's Molly. They wanted you to talk about breedings with Abernathy's Molly. The impact of the good, the bad, and the ugly. I didn't even know what that meant. Frisco versus Dynamite production and the significance of Earl Jr. over time. So if you just wanted to get into the significance of breedings with Abernathy's Molly.
Well, Randall did all the great breedings with Molly, Randall or Kimsey Wood or Rex or whoever was involved with the breedings that were done with her. Clearly, based on the prominence of the offspring, Trouble, who may possibly even have been a brother of Art. That's a different story, which I'll tell very quickly. Bennett Clayton owned 2 sisters, Sugar and Java, if I remember correctly. Sugar was shown as Eli Jr. to Sugar is shown as the parentage of Trouble. But Bennett told me, he said those 2 bitches came in heat. Both of them were bred to Eli Jr. Both had their litters at the same time. He said he only had 1 pen, and that he ended up putting all those pups together in the same pen. And he said, to be honest with you, I got to where I couldn't tell which was from which. He said, I just registered part of them out of Java and part of them out of Sugar. So Wood's Trouble may have been a littermate brother to Art. So just an interesting little sideline there. It's a story that came directly from Bennett Clayton's lips to my ears, and I'd be remiss if I didn't share it.
I'd be disappointed if you didn't share it.
Yeah. So when you're figuring all this stuff together, then keep that in mind. So Trouble was bred to Molly by those guys collectively, and the outcome was fantastic. I'm trying to remember who else they bred her to. Wasn't there a dog named Little Black somebody's little black that she was bred to. She produced Jubal. All of the good breedings that were done with her, all the really productive breedings that were done with her were done to Eli, quality Eli dogs, which illustrates yet again that principle. If the pit bull world, as a real result of these interviews, doesn't grasp that fact as many times as I've shared it and run with it to their betterment, then they are dumbasses and don't deserve to have the breed. That's all I can say about it.
You say there'd be a big old hole?
Yep, big old hole in the game without them there Eli dogs. Yeah, but he was. I know how he felt, how Floyd felt about Bose. Bose was his favorite dog, so you can't just say without them Eli dogs. You better just say without them Boudreaux dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, the litter that I got out of Molly she was bred to Patty. And so that was a significant cross. And whenever I got her, I still hadn't put everything together about Eli to Eli. If I had, I would have bred her to a high quality Eli dog. The stuff I got out of her and Patty was mediocre at best. So Patty was a Bolio Tombstone dog that came from, maybe depends on the pedigree that you look at, that came from Patrick. Whenever I acquired him, he was shown to be, I believe, off Tombstone and Red Baby, yeah. And then later Pat told me that he was off of different Golden Boy and Pinky 3, I think is what he said.
Yeah.
So, not trying to start any controversy with that, I can tell you he was a hell of a producer, hell of a dog. And Hollingsworth brought Lady in Red up to breed to him. As an aside, I will say that I did have a fair amount of interaction with Ernest Hollingsworth, and he got Caribou from me. He bought Caribou. I think he changed his name to Paper, and then bred him to Lady in Red. And he did two of his breedings with Lady in Red to studs that came from me. But Patty was bred to Molly, and nothing that I got excited about came out of that. But if I'd had a great quality Eli dog to breed her to, yeah. But that was all before I put 2 and 2 together and got 4. About how to breed the Eli stuff.
So what is this good, the bad, and the ugly? I guess that's just something I'm not familiar with.
I have no idea. I mean, it was a great spaghetti western as I remember it.
Yeah, that's all I know it as.
That's all I can do with it.
It was in line with the same questions about Molly, was impact of the good, the bad, the ugly.
We'll have to ask for clarification on that.
Yeah.
Might be the best question we've ever received, and we just don't understand it. Give them the benefit of the doubt until we find out otherwise.
I think a good place to end this conversation, because it'll probably take a little bit, is Frisco versus Dynamite in terms of production.
I don't even know why you would make that comparison, because the one was clearly an extension of the other. The fact that you would take the best producer of all time, Frisco, and inbreed him, and the male that comes out of that would be very high caliber producer himself. I don't see any conflict there. I see affirmation is what I see. You just took a piece of Papa and kept doing what Papa did. So yeah, he's an extraordinary producer and still highly valued. There are lots of people out there that don't want anything but a Dynamite dog. And we, as you remember, we shipped out semen from Dynamite Jr. today.
Yep.
Because he's producing very high caliber Frisco Dynamite type offspring.
Yeah, I'll never stop singing Frisco praises, and when I think of like lines of dogs, when people think of what's the best of this, what's the best of that, I can only think of one single line. And I can just look at Momo and trace Momo back to Chinaman.
Yeah.
And that's why I bought the very first dog I bought from you. Is because if we trace Momo back to Chinaman, it's just Momo, Caesar, Constantine, Frisco, Chinaman.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, just anywhere else in the whole dog world, give me a list of champion, grand champion, POR, greatest round dog of all time, Chinaman. Like, it's just, I don't know. Somebody, I mean, maybe somebody can come up with something for me, but I don't know. There I am.
There's a nice logical thread, a nice narrative there that seems to possess a lot of truth. It's interesting how even now, well, when I look back at what happened in the 90s, there was a status quo that we turned upside down with Frisco, and still a lot of people are butthurt about it. And they, you have this small segment of the population that are hardcore that will say, no Frisco, no Frisco. They'll accept Chinaman, but they don't want to have Frisco in their Chinaman. And whenever you have a dog like Frisco that has 43 ROM points, how can you, as a conscious, living, breathing thing, ignore such a powerful statistic?
As a logical thing.
Yeah.
Let's add logic to it.
Yeah.
Because you can get in your feelings about things and ignore logic a lot.
Yeah. Well, some of them find relief in coming to my yard and getting something else, instead of something that's so blatantly Frisco. But what is so often ignored is the fact that everything on this yard has Frisco in it. And some of it, like the Eli dogs, the El Negro dogs, there's more Frisco than anything else in those dogs.
Yeah.
But they'll look at that, and just because there was so much commotion in the 90s about people just didn't want to accept the fact that, lo and behold, here comes this dog named Frisco, and just totally upset the apple cart, and they just still butthurt about it. But yeah, let me say it clear that the best thing that ever happened to me in my evolution as a breeder was producing Frisco. Again, the excellence that existed in that bloodline is the most responsible element in making the El Negro dogs the force that they are to this day, and getting to be more and more of a force as every year passes. Same is true in virtually everything I've got here. There's a nice, healthy shot of Frisco in the haystack dogs through Simba, a titled son of Frisco. Even the Red Boy dogs, we started out with a quarter Chinaman Frisco to straighten out the athleticism of that line before we went full bore red man with it. And as a result, far superior dogs. I think my Red Boy dog has outproduced the original Red Boy dog by a factor of 2 in terms of title offspring.
And that he produced a grand champion, which the original Red Boy dog didn't produce.
Yeah, well, you have to have some physical attributes to be able to pull that off. And then, you look at all the other branches of our program, even the Bolio stuff, we straightened it out. These are dogs that you couldn't inbreed one lick whenever I started with them, because they were just one lick of inbreeding and they would just fall apart. They become short coupled, undershot, soft teeth, shallow chest, kill puppies as soon as they're born. But we gradually massaged Frisco in there with the bolio. We didn't lose any. We probably just fortified the desirable traits from the bolio side, but we created a physically tough animal, a superb athlete. All these lines rode in on Frisco's back. So, say what you will, I was there right in the thick of it. Frisco was the product of my thought process, and he manifests his excellence through a lot of hard work and a lot of dealing with a lot of high stress bullshit from the fraternity. The people who kept the faith were great benefactors of the existence of that dog.
Amen, Frisco.
Mm-hmm.